There are stories that human beings tell through tears, through long nights staring at the ceiling, through messages typed out and then erased, through the same question repeated again and again without an answer, why, and why. But there is another version of that story. The version no one tells because no one stands far enough away to see the whole picture. The version with no villain, no victim, no winner, and no loser. The version in which every wound has a reason, every departure has a mission, and every broken contract is the beginning of something greater. This is the version of the universe, and the universe does not choose sides. When a narcissist and an empath find each other, the universe neither applauds nor warns them. It simply observes that two opposing frequencies are preparing to collide, and that from that collision, something will have to break, so that something greater can be born. There is a contract here, not written in ink, not signed by hand, but the universe sees it more clearly than any document, an agreement between two souls, created before either of them had a name, a form, or a memory. One soul agrees to carry the light, one soul agrees to carry the darkness, so that both can teach each other what only collision can teach. But today the universe records another event. The moment that contract is broken not by fate, but by choice. The moment the one carrying the darkness turns away from the light, believing they are escaping, not realizing that in the language of the universe, nothing ever truly escapes. There are only lessons either learned through love or learned through suffering, and the universe, as it always has been, patiently waits for both souls to reach the destination. Chapter 2. The Moment of Collision. The universe has witnessed millions of encounters. Encounters as gentle as two currents of wind touching each other before fading away. Encounters as peaceful as two rivers merging and flowing together in the same direction. But this is not one of them. This is the kind of collision the universe sees only when two frequencies that are too different, too deeply in need of each other arrive at the same point in space and time. Intense, brilliant, and unavoidable. From the outside, it looks like love at first sight. Their eyes meet, and the world around them begins to blur. Conversations stretch deep into the night, with neither wanting to end them first. This newly met stranger understands them more deeply than people who have stood beside them for decades. The empath experiences it as a return home. Finally, here it is. This person belongs to me. The narcissist experiences it as a discovery. Finally, here it is. This person understands me. Both are correct, but they are speaking about two completely different things. The universe watches and records what neither of them can see. The empath looks into the narcissist's eyes and sees a soul waiting to be saved, a fading flame waiting to be reignited. And their open heart responds immediately, without judgment, without hesitation. They give away light, as if light were infinite. The narcissist looks into the empath's eyes and sees the thing they have searched for their entire life, a perfect mirror. Not a mirror reflecting appearance, but a mirror reflecting worth. Someone who looks at them and sees greatness. Someone who listens to them without ever growing tired. Someone who is there, always there. And in that moment, the trap is created not through malice, but through need. One soul needs to be loved. One soul needs to be reflected back to itself. And for a brief period of time, those two needs feed each other enough for both to call it love. But the universe knows the difference between love and dependency. Love creates energy. Dependency consumes energy. And from those very first days, the direction of energy was already clear. It moved in only one direction, from the empath flowing toward the narcissist, like water flowing from higher ground to lower ground, naturally, continuously, and without awareness. The empath gives because they believe that is love. The narcissist receives because they do not know how to do anything else. The universe does not call this sin. It calls this a pattern programmed deeply into each soul through many years, many lifetimes, and many wounds left unhealed. And the contract, that invisible contract signed before either soul was born, begins to take effect. There is no bell announcing it, no ritual, only two souls beginning to enter each other's orbit, each carrying exactly what the other needs, and exactly what the other fears most. The light begins to illuminate the darkness. The darkness begins to test the light. And the universe, with the patience of billions of years, quietly records every moment, knowing that the most difficult part of this story has not yet begun. Chapter 3. The Separation. The universe is never surprised. But if there is a moment when even the universe must pause not because of shock, but because of the weight of what is unfolding, it is this moment. The moment one soul decides to break the contract. It does not happen in a single day. There is no morning when the narcissist wakes up and decides that today will be the day they leave. There is no clear instant when everything changes from love into the absence of love. Separation does not arrive like a storm, it arrives like the tide pulling away. Slowly, quietly. So quietly that the empath is still standing on the shore without realizing how far the water has already retreated. The universe watches this process with particular attention, because this is the stage where everything is revealed not through words, but through absences. Messages answered a little more slowly. Meetings that become a little shorter. Eyes that begin to look over the empath's shoulder instead of directly into their eyes. Things so small they cannot be clearly pointed out, yet the empath feels every single one of them, deep in their bones. What causes the narcissist to withdraw? The universe sees the answer the narcissists themselves cannot bear to admit. The empath's light, the very thing that once attracted them so powerfully, begins to feel like a threat. Not because that light has changed, but because the closer they move toward the light, the more visible the darkness inside them becomes. And the narcissist has spent an entire lifetime building walls to hide that darkness, not from other people but from themselves. When the empath's light begins illuminating those hidden corners, the narcissist's survival instinct activates, not through rage, not through hatred, but through disappearance. And this is what the universe records as one of humanity's most painful paradoxes. The narcissist does not leave because they no longer need the empath. They leave because they need them too much, and that terrifies them beyond what they can endure. Fear of dependence. Fear of being seen too clearly. Fear that if they remain long enough, the empath will eventually see the thing they fear most, an empty soul behind all the layers of masks. And instead of facing that fear, they choose what feels more familiar: control, coldness, and then disappearance. The universe does not call this evil. It calls this an unhealed wound trying to protect itself. But the truth remains the truth, no matter what name it is given. The contract is being broken. On the empath side, the universe witnesses a different kind of pain. Not pain from betrayal, although that is part of it, but pain from being erased. Because throughout the relationship, the empath has slowly made themselves smaller, less demanding, less needy, less fully themselves, only to fit inside the space the narcissist allowed them to occupy. And now, as the narcissist pulls away, the empath looks into the mirror and no longer recognizes who they are. They ask themselves, what did I do wrong? The universe hears that question. And if the universe could answer in human language, it would say, you did nothing wrong. You are simply fulfilling your role in a contract whose next chapter no longer belongs to both of you. The next chapter belongs only to you. But those words have not yet reached the empath, not yet. At this moment, they can feel only one thing: silence. A silence heavier and more cruel than any spoken word. The silence the narcissist leaves behind like a final weapon, no explanation, no farewell, no glance backward. And within that silence, the contract officially shatters. There is no sound, no witnesses. Only two souls, one walking away believing they are free, one standing still believing they have been abandoned. The universe sees both of them. And the universe knows that both are mistaken about what they believe, but this is not yet the time to reveal that truth. Because there are truths that can only be understood after a soul has traveled through enough darkness. And the darkness for both of these souls still lies ahead. Chapter 4. Two parallel journeys. The universe does not watch only one person. It watches both souls at the same time, with the same attention, without favoring either side. And this is something human beings rarely understand while they are suffering. While they are drowning in their own darkness, an entirely different story is unfolding in parallel on the other side. Two souls, two journeys, two completely opposite directions. On the empath side, the universe watches a soul contracting inward, not because of weakness, but because this is the most natural thing in the world. When a heart has just endured a massive collision, it contracts to protect what still remains inside. Like a flower folding its petals before the rain, not in order to die, but in order to survive the night. In the beginning, the empath searches for answers. They revisit old messages, old memories, every small moment trying to find the sign they missed, trying to uncover the mistake they made. Their mind runs endlessly like a machine without an off switch, and their body carries the weight of a pain that language does not contain enough words to describe. The universe sees all of it, and the universe also sees what the empath cannot yet see, that with every night they cry, an old layer is being peeled away, that with every moment they sit alone with their pain, they are becoming more familiar with themselves in a way the years beside the narcissist never allowed them to become. Because when you are forced to sit alone with pain, with no one to comfort you, no one to blame, nothing to distract you, you are eventually confronted with the question you have avoided for a very long time. Who am I when that person is no longer beside me? That is the most painful question, and also the most important question the empath's soul has ever been asked. The universe patiently waits for them to discover the answer. It does not rush them. It does not shorten the process. Because it knows that the real answer cannot come from outside, it can only emerge from within, in silence, in darkness, in the loneliest moments. And slowly, very slowly, unevenly, sometimes taking one step forward and two steps backward, the empath begins to open again, not because the pain has disappeared, but because they begin to carry that pain differently, not as a burden, but as proof that they once loved genuinely, once lived genuinely, and still possess enough strength to rise again after everything. On the narcissist side, the universe watches a soul expanding outward, but in the wrong direction. After leaving the relationship, the narcissist feels relief. The feeling is real. The universe does not deny that. They are free from the light that had become too bright, the light that exposed the darkness inside them. Free from a connection that had become too deep, too vulnerable. They enter a new world with the confidence of someone who believes they have escaped a war. But the universe sees what they cannot see, that they have escaped nothing at all. They are only running. And the distance between them and their own darkness has not increased in the slightest. It has merely been temporarily hidden beneath the noise of a new life. They search for new sources of reflection, new people who can look at them with admiration, new relationships, capable of feeding an ego slowly drying out from within. And at first, it appears to work. New lights, new stages, new audiences. But the universe knows a law that cannot be broken. You cannot fill an emptiness inside yourself with things from outside yourself. Not forever. You can only postpone the moment when you must finally face it. And every time the narcissist postpones that moment, the emptiness inside them grows slightly wider, slightly quieter, slightly darker. There are late nights when the performance has ended, when there is no one left to impress, when only they and the darkness of the room remain, that the universe witnesses something they would never allow during the daylight hours. They remember, not the empath as a lover, but the feeling of truly being seen, not the image, not the performance, but the hidden human self buried beneath everything, the self only the empath ever truly touched. That feeling, though they feared it, though they ran from it, was the only thing that ever made them feel truly real. And now it is gone. The universe does not pity them, but neither does it celebrate their suffering. It simply records that this is the moment when the seed of awakening is planted, whether the narcissist wants it or not. Whether that seed will grow or not, that is a question even the universe cannot answer for them. And the universe watches both souls. One soul is learning how to find themselves again. One soul is learning how to face themselves for the first time. Two different lessons, two different paths, yet the same destination if both possess enough courage to continue all the way to the end. The universe does not rush them. It does not judge the speed of either soul. It simply maintains one single truth throughout both journeys. No soul is ever left behind. There are only souls moving at different speeds, along different roads, toward lessons that only they themselves can learn. And the universe, with its patience that never runs dry, continues watching, continues waiting, continues believing in both souls. Even after both souls have stopped believing in themselves, the universe does not hold closing ceremonies. There is no bell announcing the ending, no fireworks, no dramatic moment in which both souls look at each other at the exact same time and suddenly understand that everything has been completed. The closing of a soul contract is not loud the way its beginning once was. It arrives quietly. Like sunrise, you do not see the exact moment the sky becomes light. You simply realize that the darkness is no longer there. For the empath, that moment arrives in a very ordinary way. Perhaps it is an ordinary morning. They wake up, make coffee, look out the window, and suddenly realize they have not thought about the narcissist throughout the entire night before. Not because they deliberately tried to forget, but because their mind has become occupied with other things, things that belong to them, things connected to the life they are slowly rebuilding piece by piece. And within that ordinary moment, something extraordinary happens. They smile, not a forced smile. Not a smile meant to prove to someone else that they are fine, but the smile of someone who has just realized they survived something they once believed impossible to survive, and on the other side, life is still waiting for them, more beautiful and more expansive than they ever imagined. The universe watches that smile, and if the universe were capable of feeling, this would be the moment it would feel something close to satisfaction, not because the empath has finally become happy, but because they have become a fuller version of themselves. The person they always possessed the potential to become but could only become after passing through exactly those shadows. The love they once gave away does not disappear. It simply changes form, returning to them as understanding, compassion toward themselves, and a deeper capacity to love this time without losing themselves in the process. For the narcissist, closure arrives differently and much later. The universe watches them continue running long after the empath has already stopped, continuing to search for new mirrors, continuing to build new walls, continuing to perform before new audiences. But there is one thing that cannot be escaped forever: the truth. And the narcissist's truth is this: every mirror they find reflects less than the one before it. Every new relationship becomes shallower, emptier, and more short-lived. Not because those people are not good enough, but because the narcissist carries within themselves a void that grows larger and larger, and no mirror outside themselves can fill what can only be filled from within. Then one night, the universe does not know which night, only that the night will eventually arrive. The narcissist sits alone in complete silence and, for the first time in a very long time, stops running from it. They simply sit there. And within that silence, they hear the thing they spent an entire lifetime trying not to hear: the voice of their own soul. Small, fragile, but still there, still calling, still waiting to be heard. Whether they possess enough courage to listen or not, the universe does not interfere with that. This is the boundary where even the universe itself must stop and place the power of choice entirely into human hands, because free will, no matter how painful it may be, remains the most sacred thing the universe gives to every soul. And as both journeys slowly approach their ending, the universe records one final truth. These two souls, whether they ever meet again or not, whether they ever speak again or not, whether one ever learns what became of the other or not, are both completing exactly what they needed to complete, not together anymore, but each along their own path. And the contract, that invisible contract signed before either soul even had a name, quietly closes. Not because love has disappeared, but because its purpose has been fulfilled. The two souls have taught each other what only they could teach each other, no matter how painful the lesson may have been. The universe removes their names from the old contract and opens two blank pages. One page for each soul. One new story for each soul, written entirely by their own hands, no longer defined by the other person. This is not the ending. This is the first time after everything that both souls are truly free. And the universe, the eternal observer, quietly records the final line in its chronicle. The contract has been fulfilled. Both souls have received what they needed. Not what they wanted, but what they needed. And that, as it has always been, is enough.